Last month, Germany's AMG opened Europe's first plant to produce battery-grade lithium hydroxide. The factory in the old East German industrial town of Bitterfeld will have an initial capacity to produce 20,000 tons of battery-grade lithium hydroxide, enough for around 500,000 electric vehicles. The lithium will be sent to nearby Poland and Hungary to be turned into battery materials for electric vehicles. AMG also hopes to feed the plant directly with material from its lithium mine in Brazil. Benchmark attended the opening of the refinery and sat down with AMG Lithium CEO Dr. Stefan Scherer to learn more. Scherer talked about the advantages of being a first mover in Europe, the current state of the lithium market, how the company will secure enough lithium feedstock to feed its German plant, and its plans to build a lithium chemical plant in Brazil.
Stefan, thanks so much for joining me today. We're here today for the opening of Europe's first lithium hydroxide refinery. I wonder if you could tell me the significance of this plant for Europe.
For AMG, it has a high significance because we are the first company which is having a production of lithium battery-grade salts of this size, 20,000 tons a year, in Europe. And given that fact, we are the first mover here. And a first mover always has advantages, talking to customers, talking to business partners across all aspects of the supply chain. Because you are physically there, you left the kingdom of PowerPoint presentations and you made the step into reality. And chemical industry in general is very conservative. So, to keep a long story short, in this industry, actions speak louder than words. Means when you are producing, we can talk about taking your product. Of course, you discussed before, and you have ideas, you talk volumes, etc., etc. But entering into binding, bankable contracts is something you can only do in this battery industry once you are formally qualified with your material. And this is now the next step we have to do. So with the opening of the factory, I'm afraid the work doesn't end. It's one big step, but now we have to produce these qualifications volumes. We have to enter serious and close discussions with our customers. And then hopefully within the next couple of months, we get the formal rubber stamp be approved for the application. And then we can start selling and producing and earning money, of course. And given the importance of the whole industry globally, of course, for AMG, this is a huge step, being part of this game. And it's a very serious game, because especially here in Europe, we need to get not a 100% independence from other regions on the globe, but at least we need to have a certain share of independence. And this gives some light on the other aspects. Yes, for AMG it's a big thing. For Europe it's just one first step. So we need much more entrepreneurs within Europe who are actually doing things and not only, taking paper from place A to place B.
And is this qualification with automakers? Because presumably you're going to supply the European auto industry. Are you in talks with European automakers?
We are talking to OEMs, of course we do. But our primary focus is on the clients which are the closest to us, which is the cathode producers. And because it's a very close game between both of them, also the cell producers. So this is our natural habitat, I would say, of customers. OEMs is another level of discussion. So for this thing here, we focus on this primary customers. There is, according to our discussions we had with our client base, round about 50,000 tons of cathode material demand in 2025. And we are producing here next year, I would say 15,000 in the ramp-up year because of this qualification issue. So you can see it's not that we are producing more than what's required in Europe. And when you look forward into the projections for 2030, for example, you talk easily about 700,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalents. So even our final stage, it's a bit more than a drop on the hot stone, but it's not a huge monster share. But we are there in order to support the European cathode producers who are already here. So, for example, in Hungary, there is a couple of them, in Poland, in other countries of Europe, still emerging regarding volumes. But this starts during the course of next year. And so that's a little bit our place. So OEMs, yes, but that's just more a forward-looking discussion at the moment.
And given what you say, do you think the EU's target of achieving 40% of lithium being processed within the EU by the end of this decade, is that achievable?
Well, it's a target. Whether it's achievable depends on a lot of things. It depends on the acceptance in populations wherever you talk a mining project, for example, because this acceptance is mainly driving the timelines of such mines. And then you need basically companies like AMG who are taking the risk to invest in order to be the first one, and then to move things forward from there. So the 40% is a challenging goal, I would say, as it looks today, but maybe things change.
And on the raw materials supply, I mean, you've talked of the target eventually getting to 100,000 tons of lithium hydroxide. How do you plan to secure the feedstock for this? And at the moment, given the low prices, are you looking to secure more feedstock from the market?
That's what we actually do right now. It's quite a nice market for trading out of spec material and technical hydroxide. But the lion's share for this first module here is coming from Brazil. So this is the cornerstone of the business. And the rest we are sourcing from other suppliers. So we are talking with traders, we are talking with other projects. And I would say that we are already covered for 2025 with the feedstock volume we need. And that's a very important step. For the future, a trading type of business is not a sustainable model in our view. What we need is, we need to have access to LCEs coming out of the ground. And therefore, our strategy is that we use our know-how in order to enable, through a partnering process, with junior miners to bring up their mines much faster than when you would do the whole development from mining up to the battery-grade material. So we have a 25% share in Zinnwald. One of the very simple reasons, it's our home turf, it's in Germany. And we will see what we are going to do with it. It's a lithium resource, so we will find a home together. And we are invested with 16% in Savannah Resources in Portugal. This is the so-called Autobahn, which has been mentioned a couple of times today. So from Brazil, through Portugal to Germany. And this gives you a little bit the focus on our activities. We have looked over a couple of projects. Most of them are well advanced in the development in the couple of years. And we are in excellent discussions with many of them, because having the know-how how to develop a mine, how to run a mine, which we have in Brazil, and having the know-how how to convert a mining concentrate into a useful chemical, that's what we have here in Germany. This is a big, big plus when you can give this to these junior miners, because very, very often they have just limited staff. It's also good people, but it's just, you know, and yeah, that's a bit the basis of our strategy.
And which countries are you looking at within Europe or?
Brazil is home turf. Portugal is interesting. Now you can say you can make with a text marker, you could go from Brazil through Portugal, Spain into Germany. But basically we are open to anyone. We do not necessarily need to be involved in a mine. We would like to have a stake in a mine, but we do not need to own and operate it. What we can give is an offtake agreement, a bankable offtake agreement for a technical intermediate. What happens then in the next step? That's open to discuss, but it will help these mines to get financed, which is a big problem. Yes. Because when you go to battery grade directly, you will have challenging discussions with banks if you find one who is financing a 500 million euro animal.
So it's chicken and egg. You need the qualification and offtake,
yeah,
to get financing.
Yeah. And that's not only true for us, it's true for the Chinese colleagues, you know. China itself is a bit different maybe. There's maybe a bit more flexibility, but as soon as you go outside of China, into Korea, into Japan, this is a high quality thinking environment. And so this approach, supporting customers through a deep understanding of what you are doing regarding the impact on the quality of the project, not just chemical, but also you need to be able to trace back when you have an issue in the cathode, for example, and they produce out-of-spec cathode material, then the search starts, who can we blame? And then it's very, very helpful for liability reasons to have documented, look, that's what we have done. Everything was fine. This is the final analysis of the lots which have ended up in your product. It was not our fault. You have to look somewhere else. Sorry for that. And this is something, I mean, when you think about when you build auto cars and you do something wrong, and you have to call back a million or 500,000 of cars, you talk about a couple of hundreds of millions of whatever currency, dollars, euros. And no company in the world takes this on their own balance sheet for voluntarily, normally. Yes. But that's still, the industry is under development. It's not yet fully fledged industry with a balanced supply-demand as we have it in many other industries.
Can you talk about the difficulties of producing battery-grade lithium hydroxide? You mentioned the level of impurities has to be as low as, I think you compared it to a sugar cube in 3,000 liters of water. How challenging is it to produce battery-grade product?
I would say from a processing point of view, what we do here, I mean, it's a challenge, but on the other hand, it's compared to a conversion plant where you start from ore concentrate to the battery grade. The risk is much, much reduced here because we have very simple purification steps in our process. And when you go and visit the Chinese hydroxide producing plants, this is complex, highly complex systems of crystallization, of recycling mother liquor and bleed streams in order to optimize yield, which defines at the end of the day how many metric tons of lithium salt you produce and at which quality. And this is something which takes time. And for doing this in one shot, it's really, really important to have the know-how. And that's one of the reasons why we cut the value chain at a technical intermediate. So when we are at the end of the journey with our mine in Brazil, we mine there, we concentrate the ore, we convert the concentrate into a technical precursor, and we ship this technical precursor here to Bitterfeld and just do the last quality determining steps, which reduces the risk in Brazil, which is a great mining country, but not necessarily a forerunner regarding producing battery materials. Where we get at the end of the day, that's a different topic, but that's the idea. So we are de-risking the technical failure risk of doing the whole thing in one shot.
Interesting. And when will you have the plant in Brazil up and running, do you think?
I mean, what we do right now is we have done basic engineering for a conversion plant, which we paused because we think it's quite a good time now to do that because of the prices and the fact that we thought, well, when we built this, why should we build it at our mine place? Let's build it somewhere in Brazil where we can offer to other miners to sell us their spodumene. Then we make the concentrate and again ship it to Europe. So this is a little bit the idea we have. And it's interesting how you can get into discussions now, you know, when you have something physically to touch. It opens up a lot of doors from one day to the other. So yeah, there is a lot in front of us, I would say.
And today we've heard a lot about the high energy costs in Germany. I mean, how big an issue is it for the plant here?
Yeah, I mean, of course it would be extremely helpful to have lower energy costs, especially electricity. But it is as it is. And what we do here is, I mean, it consumes energy, but I would say we can live with the expense around energies in general, especially electricity, because with the team we have and with the plant we have and everything, we are convinced that the value added we create through securing that we always reach battery grade somehow compensates the slightly higher cost or this higher cost for electricity. Plus the fact that at the end, when we are in Brazil, we are at 95% hydropower. So what we try to do is we try to do the quality steps here, and the energy intensive stuff we do somewhere else. And made in Germany still means something in the world. So when we talk about quality here, we can guarantee that there is a certain quality. And that's what our customers need. When you think about hydroxide traveling from China to Europe, it's a multi-week journey. And a lot of things can happen to hydroxide because of its properties. And yeah, so that's a little bit the story and the idea behind what we are doing.
And I just want to ask you about the lithium market. Do you think We've seen news about some production possibly coming off in China or being shut in China. Do you think we're nearing a bottom, or do you think prices are going to stay low for a bit longer?
I mean, general comment, as quick as you shut down capacity in China, as quick you restart them. So this is nothing sustainable. When it's needed, they will ramp it up again. What we need to do is we need to get a little bit more independent from what's going on there. But the prices we see at the moment in our analysis, when you look on the demand numbers, they are still right. So there is nothing negative on the demand side for lithium. There is overcapacity in China, that's the big issue. But even the Chinese now suffer from these low prices, because also they have to make money at a certain point in time. They can survive a couple of months, yeah, with a little bit controlled economy they have. So that's a clear advantage compared to the Western countries. Well, I'm not complaining, it is as it is. So you have to take the challenge and try to work on advantages which you can bring into the game in order to be the better choice for the customer at the end of the day, especially here in Europe. So our target is not to go to China or something. We are European based.
And how concerned are you about European EV sales? We've seen them fall about 4% this year. We've seen troubles with Volkswagen. How concerned are you about medium-term demand?
Well, I think it's in Europe, especially in Germany, EV is an emotional theme. And it's a complex matter. It's a decision in each family or for each person. Do I drive a combustion engine or do I go electric? It's a matter of price, of course, but that's something for the OEMs to solve. And I think the trend is there. I mean, when you see what's going on they are setting the pace. More than 50% of new car sales in China is electric. Not full electric, hybrids and electric, but it's full electric, but more than 50%. And these Chinese markets are very important for the Western OEMs. So they have a huge problem coming, in my view. And it's now time for them really to move quickly, and in order to not allow competitors in car manufacturing to enter their home turf. And that's the challenge, in my view. So in other words, we are small. We produce 20,000 tons. I'm not talking here about millions of tons. And so we have our small little niche, and we are there to develop what we are doing when the market is ready to support it. So I'm not concerned at all about the demand numbers for Europe. There is other areas like energy storage, which is a little bit under the radar because it's not so easy to analyze. Car sales is easy. You go to the statistics and you say, this month we have sold X. Yeah. With the energy story, it's behind the fence. If you are lucky, it gets published that someone builds a battery, but not everybody does it. So we are there, the market is there, and as soon as the market regains speed again, we are more than happy to follow it.
So when do you think you'll get to 100,000 tons?
Our internal target is by 2030. But that's not an easy one.
In what way?
Well, in a way that you have to develop the resource base. So, and this is why it is so important that we have the Brazilian colleagues, because that's a wonderful demonstration case how you can positively cooperate with communities and people. So, and that's what you need to do. Mining is also emotional. No one wants to have a big hole close to his garden. No one, including me, right? And then you just have to look for solutions, maybe going underground. There is a lot of things you can do. You must not necessarily build a fully fledged chemical plant in a natural preserve. That's not what you should do. But having a mine, doing a concentrate, and then you go by train to an industrial park like here, where you have all the infrastructure, that's maybe something which makes sense. And by having these flexible concepts, I think it's easier and better to convince people that mining is part of our industry. It has to be part. Long time ago, we were mining in Europe actively. Most for energy, coal pits, etc., but also other mines. This has all moved to other jurisdictions, and we need to come to a point within the population of every country, not only in Germany, that welfare depends on value creation. So you cannot sit at the end and expect that the money comes from alone. So you have to do something for it. But that's something for the politicians to work on, I think. It's also something for companies. The way how you talk to people makes a lot of a difference. And of course, political stakeholders. So you need to take people with you. You know, you need to be open, not coming across like a general, and we do it like this, like this. People want to get involved and have the feeling that their thoughts are respected and that the company takes it and tries to improve the concept in order to follow expectations. Not always possible, but at least you should try. And then you have to see. Such a project is a very complex thing. You cannot compare any mine in the world with another one. Yes. It's just every mine has its specific issues you have to solve.
But there's room for expansion in Brazil, and that expansion's on track.
Yes, we are keen. We are keen to get started because you need a long lead time. You know, when you talk about a mine to this here, de-risking things, you talk about 5 to 7 years easily.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
It's been a great
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.